did you know that Merlin the Wizard became important to the Disney legacy as a result of this film? And did you know that this was the last film to be released whilst Walt Disney was still alive? Find out why in 100 Facts About the Sword in the Stone. The Sword in the Stone is the 18th animated feature film by Disney. It was released on December 25th, 1963. Disney managed to save money on the production of 101 Dalmatians by using the Xerox method to transfer the drawings onto the cells. They aimed to make this film in the same style. This meant that the black line would be predominant in this film as well. Some people loved that style, as it meant you could see the animators' real pencil drawings on the screen. Other people think it made the product look cheaper compared to the incredible ink and paint on the previous films with different coloured lines for each character. The film was directed by Wolfgang Reitherman, known to most people as Woolie Reitherman. He was one of Disney's 9 old men, a group of core animators that developed the Disney style in the golden and silver era of Disney. Woolie directed big sequences in previous films. He was one of 3 directors in the previous film. This was his first time solely directing, and it's a role he held on to for many years after this film. There were various attempts at developing the film, lasting 2 decades before the actual production of the film finally began. In February 1939, Walt Disney purchased the film rights to T.H. White's The Sword in the Stone. However, during World War II, Disney were restricted to making cartoons for the armed services. Disney assigned writers to work on The Sword in the Stone, along with Cinderella and Alice in Wonderland. The project continued to be in development throughout the late 1940s and early 1950s. Around the same time, Disney's older brother Roy O. Disney attempted to persuade him to stop making feature animations. They had made enough animated films that they could continue re-releasing the films that they had into cinemas and make enough money from the theme parks and television. Walt Disney wanted to continue making animated films, as that is how they started the company. Walt agreed that only one animated film would be released every 4 years. In June 1960, following the release of 101 Dalmatians, Disney announced that 2 animated projects were in development. These were Chanticleer and The Sword in the Stone. Bill Peet wrote the story for The Sword in the Stone. Bill Peet had written the previous film, 101 Dalmatians, and done an incredible job. Chanticleer was being developed by Ken Anderson and Mark Davies, who aimed to produce a feature animated film in a more contemporary setting like 101 Dalmatians. Both of them had visited the Disney archives and decided to adapt the tale into production after finding concept art dating back to the 1940s. Anderson, Davies, Milt Kahr and director Wolfgang Reitherman spent months preparing elaborate storyboards for Chanticleer. When the time came to approve one of the 2 projects, Walt remarked that the problem with making a rooster a protagonist was that you don't feel like picking up a rooster and petting it. Meanwhile, work on The Sword in the Stone was solely done by veteran story artist Bill Peet. Walt Disney had seen the 1960 Broadway production of Camelot. He approved the project and entered production. Ollie Johnson stated that Milt Kahr got furious with Bill for not pushing Chanticleer after all the work they had put into it. As mentioned, the film continued to use the Xerox method that was invented in the last production. They used a Xerox copy machine to photocopy the drawings onto the animation cells. An additional animation technique called touch-up was created during this production. The animation process had previously involved the use of cleanups, where assistant animators transferred the director and animator's sketches by hand onto a new sheet of paper, which were later copied onto an animation cell. Cleanups were replaced by touch-ups. This is where the assistant would draw directly onto the animator's sketches before the drawing was copied onto a cell. This made assistants very frightened if they were working for Milt Kahr in fear they would mess up his line work. If you're a long-time follower of this series, then you know that I love talking about Disney's 9 old men. If this is your first time watching one of my videos, the 9 old men were Walt Disney's group of core animators. They pioneered the way for animators in the golden age and silver age of Disney. As mentioned earlier, Wolfgang Reitherman, known as Woolie, served as the solo director of Sword in the Stone. Walt Disney trusted Woolie's judgment and experience. Walt Disney was involved in many other projects at this time. He was involved in theme parks, live action films and TV, so animation did not see much of his time, not as much as it used to. This is why he needed Woolie, an artist with a natural leadership skill. Milt Kahr had developed his skills to near perfection. He was an incredible draftsman who understood every part of the anatomy. Milt developed Merlin and Wart as well as Sir Kay and Sir Ector. He enjoyed developing these characters and enjoyed giving them unique personalities. Milt shared sequences starring Madame Mim with Frank Thomas. He was often paired with Frank Thomas and they collaborated well together. Milt loved animating Madame Mim. He was often put on down-to-earth, realistic characters, so this was his chance to exaggerate the drawings and show off how talented he could be with eccentric characters. Milt animated a scene of Madame Mim breaking into a zany dance. He uses unusual and extreme angles during this scene, which would be very difficult for any other animator to draw. Some people think Milt did this to challenge himself. Others thought that Milt was just showing off his draftsmanship. Frank Thomas animated both Merlin and Madame Mim as they prepare for their Wizard's Duel. Frank shows off his acting ability in this scene. Mim is overconfident of her abilities, whilst Merlin is unsure. Frank animated another famous sequence from the film. This was the Squirrel sequence, when Merlin turns himself and Wart into squirrels. This scene becomes hilarious when a female squirrel starts to show affection for Wart, as he has to explain that he's not a real squirrel. Frank later said that this was one of his favourite assignments at Disney. Ollie Johnston animated most of the opening sequence. This is where we see Merlin getting water out of the well. Ollie wanted to show a depth in the relationship between the characters. He didn't feel like they achieved that with this film, but they definitely would in their next film, Jungle Book. John Lounsbury animated during the Wizard battle. He animated Madame Mim as a chicken trying to eat Merlin as a worm, and a rhinoceros with Merlin as the crab. Ricky Sorensen, who voiced young Arthur, entered puberty during production. This made Woolie Reitherman cast his sons Richard and Robert to replace him. This can be quite noticeable during the film, as it switches back and forth between them, sometimes in the same scene. During its initial release, The Sword in the Stone earned an estimated $4.75 million. Sword in the Stone received mixed reviews from critics, who thought it had too much humour and a thin narrative. Sword in the Stone was released on VHS, Betamax, Laserdisc in 1986. For its 50th anniversary, it was released on Blu-ray on August 6, 2013. Several characters from the film made frequent appearances in Disney's House of Mouse television series. I've said it before, and I'll say it again, House of Mouse is my favourite Disney television programme ever, and it's so exciting to see all these characters together. Merlin has made quite a legacy with the Disney company. Anytime there's magic in the fireworks display, shows or parades, Merlin is usually involved. Merlin makes a guest appearance in Sophia the First in the episode Gone with the Wand. Like other guest characters, Merlin appears in 3D for this series. All tracks are written by Robert B. Sherman and Richard M. Sherman. They are known as the Sherman Brothers.
And then we start saying, well, what's a good angle? What's a new angle? Because so many songs have been written, we try to come up with something that's a little different. That's why we invent words sometimes. Higitus figitus, migitus mum, prestidigitonium.
This was the first Disney film they worked on, before going on to have an amazing career at Disney. They are known for inventing words for their songs.
We didn't want to say abracadabra, we just wanted to do different words. So how would he do this, you know? And the conversation was, well, he's British, you know, and we have to have sort of a British sounding magic, and also it's sort of Latin, because he's very into Latin and Greek and all that, so.
We came up with higitus, figitus.
Because higitus from Higginbottom, that sounded, you know, very British, and then higitus, figitus, migitus, mum, like you were declining some Latin. So it... Higitus, figitus, migitus, mum, prestidigitonium. We're packing to leave, come on, let's go. Books are always first, you know.
After this film, they wrote the songs for Mary Poppins, as seen in Saving Mr. Banks. Merlin has appeared as a meet and greet character at the Disney parks. He is the only character from this film to appear in the Disney parks. He appeared in the opening unit of Walt Disney's Parade of Dreams at Disneyland Park. Merlin is a supporting character in the Kingdom Hearts series. Merlin lives in an abandoned shack in Traverse Town with Cinderella's fairy godmother. He is sent by King Mickey to aid Sora, Donald and Goofy in the art of magic. He owns an old book which features the world of the 100-Acre Wood, home to Winnie the Pooh. A live-action feature film adaptation entered development in July 2015. It has not been announced whether this film will be released in cinemas or on Disney+. This was the last film to be released whilst Walt Disney was alive. Join me next week to find out why. Thank you for watching, I appreciate you watching until the end. If you're in the mood to find out more facts, then I have a playlist just for you called 100 Disney Facts. And please like and subscribe because it really helps the channel out. The next video will be 100 facts about the Jungle Book.